got lost. But the shit that matters most, your heart, your soul.
Everything I ever thought I was gonna be is gone.
Families are complicated.
Not my family.
Oh, they're gone, and they're gone for good.
Everything I ever been and everything I ever...
We always been simple.
Put her out of our misery.
I ain't going out like that.
I don't want to live forever. I just want to die.
It's too late for all that.
I want to die last.
We can't fix all that wrong shit.
Even when you ain't got shit left, tell yourself it ain't over.
Kanan Stark just killed his own uncle inside a church, and Power Book 3 Raising Kanan Season 5 Episode 8, the final episode this show will ever give us, is about to decide who survives and who doesn't. This is it. This is the end of the road for Raising Kanan, and after everything that happened in Episode 7, I genuinely do not know how anyone is walking into this finale with a clear head. Marvin is dead. Snaps and Pop are dead. Raq is completely alone. And Kanan, the boy this entire show started with, has fully become the monster we always knew he'd turn into. So let's not waste a single second, because Season 5 Episode 8, titled Unconditional Love, drops soon, and I need to break down exactly what led us here and what I believe is about to happen when this story finally comes to a close. Let's start with Kanan, because at this point I don't even recognize him anymore. Episode 7 opens with Kanan still nursing the beating Marvin gave him after finding out Kanan was behind Lulu's death. And instead of using that pain to reflect, Kanan uses it as fuel. When Jukebox comes to him wanting to team up and go after Snaps and Pop for killing Famous, Kanan barely reacts. He tells her he doesn't even care about Famous anymore, that Famous basically had it coming for snitching. And honestly, hearing him say that stopped me cold, because this is the same kid who used to have a conscience, who used to hesitate. But then Breeze tells him that Snaps and Pop actually wanted Kanan to be the one to kill Marvin and Raq, and suddenly Kanan's mask slips. He's furious. Not because he's loyal to his family, but because someone dared to give him an order. And that's when you realize Kanan was never really holding back out of love. He was holding back because nobody had pushed him hard enough yet. So what does he do with that fury? He goes straight to a church, where Marvin had just quietly left money behind with a priest for Jukebox, in case anything ever happened to him. Marvin knew his time was running out. He'd been preparing for it. And when Kanan walks in, Marvin doesn't panic, doesn't beg. He lights a cigarette, stays completely calm, and looks his nephew dead in the eye. He tells Kanan exactly who he really is. A stone-cold killer who is going to end up completely alone because of the choices he's making. And then he tells Kanan to just get it over with. Kanan shoots him right there. No hesitation, no shaking hands, nothing. He just walks out like he didn't just execute the man who helped raise him. That's 2 uncles now. 2 uncles, a cousin, and now this. The list of people Kanan has destroyed just to protect his own power keeps growing. And there is nobody left in his life who can stop him. While all of that is happening, Jukebox is going through her own transformation. And honestly, it might be even more heartbreaking to watch. She doesn't wait for Kanan's help. She tracks down Snaps and Pop herself, catches them completely off guard with no protection around them, and kills them both in cold blood to avenge Famous. And I have to say, watching her do what Kanan refused to do felt like a small moment of justice in an episode that otherwise felt like it was collapsing in on itself. But that moment of payback comes at a cost, because Jukebox is no longer the sweet, hopeful girl we met at the start of this series. She is turning into someone who solves her problems with a gun, and that terrifies me for where her story is headed. And then there's Raq. My God, Raq. This woman has spent 5 seasons building an empire, protecting her family at any cost, making impossible decisions just to keep her people alive. And by the end of episode 7, she has absolutely nothing left. Flossie and Pino abandon her the moment things get difficult. Her partnership with Haffy ended the second she killed Habib. And now Marvin, the one person who never truly turned his back on her, is gone too, and she doesn't even know it yet. When she finds out, and she will find out, I don't think there is a version of Raq left that can survive that news without completely breaking. Everyone who ever stood beside her is either dead or gone, and the people circling her now smell blood in the water. Stefano, Flossie, Hughie, Pino, they all abandoned her, and every single one of them just became a target. By the end of episode 7, the entire board has been reset. Kanan and Breeze are stronger than ever, having absorbed all of Snaps and Pop's power. Jukebox is more dangerous and more broken than we've ever seen her. And Raq is standing completely alone, surrounded by enemies on every side, with no idea that the last person she trusted is already dead. This is exactly the kind of ending a series finale needs to build from, and everything I'm about to walk you through for episode 8 is going to hit even harder once you understand just how far each of these characters has fallen to get here. The title of this finale alone tells us so much before we even get to a single scene, and I don't think Starz chose Unconditional Love by accident. Think about what that phrase actually means in the context of this family. Every single person who has died on this show died because of a twisted version of love. Raq's love for Kanan that made her spare him again and again, even when everyone told her not to. Marvin's love for his sister and his niece that kept him loyal, even when it cost him his life. And now Kanan's own warped understanding of loyalty that lets him justify killing anyone who threatens his climb. So when I hear Unconditional Love as the title for the very last episode of this show, I think we are about to watch that phrase get tested in the most brutal way possible, and I don't think it's going to end well for the people who still believe in it. Now let's talk about Raq, because there's something that stood out to me before this season even started airing. When Starz first began rolling out promotional material for season 5, Raq was noticeably missing from a lot of it, and that absence came right after the way season 4 left her story hanging. That kind of silence from a network isn't random. Shows do that when they're protecting a major reveal, and I think that reveal is tied directly to whether Raq survives this finale. Given everything that happened in episode 7 with every ally she had either dead or gone, I think Raq walks into this finale with absolutely nothing left to lose, and that makes her the most dangerous person left standing. She has spent this entire series trying to protect Kanan, sparing him over and over even when it cost her everything else. I think that ends here. I believe once Raq finds out that Kanan killed Marvin, the last real piece of her that still saw him as her son is going to die right along with that news, and what's left is going to come after him with everything she has. But here's the part that really gets me. The showrunner has been very direct about what this final season is meant to accomplish, saying that season 5 would answer every lingering question about this story, including exactly how Kanan ends up being the one to kill Jukebox years later in the original Power timeline. That is not a small detail. That is the show telling us out loud that the seeds for that future killing are being planted in this exact finale. And when you look at where Jukebox's arc has gone this season, becoming more ruthless, more willing to kill, more disconnected from the people who used to ground her, I think we are watching the beginning of the exact fracture that eventually destroys her relationship with Kanan for good. I don't think we see that betrayal play out fully in this episode, but I do believe episode 8 is where the first real crack forms, the moment where Jukebox realizes exactly what Kanan is capable of and exactly how far he's willing to go, even against the people who avenged Famous right alongside him. As for the final showdown everyone has been waiting 5 seasons for, Kanan against Raq, I think this is where the finale is going to hit hardest emotionally rather than just violently. Every time this show has set up a moment where Raq could end Kanan's life, she has hesitated. She has found a reason to spare him, because underneath all of the power moves and the betrayals, she is still his mother. I think that hesitation is exactly what gets tested one final time in this episode, and I think the difference this time is that Kanan is no longer the boy who needs protecting. He has now killed 2 uncles, a cousin, and shown he will not blink when family gets in his way. So if Raq does raise a gun to him in this finale, I don't think she's going to be able to pull the trigger, and that single moment of hesitation, the same unconditional love that's defined her entire character, might be exactly what costs her everything. On the other hand, if Kanan is the one who ends up face to face with his mother, I don't believe there's any hesitation left in him at all, and that terrifies me more than anything else heading into this finale, because it would mean the boy this entire series began with is now completely irreversibly gone. And then there's Breeze, who I think ends up being one of the most underestimated players heading into this finale. With Snaps and Pop gone and their entire operation now folded into his hands, Breeze walks into episode 8 holding more raw power than he's ever had in this entire series, and I don't think he's going to hesitate to use it. I believe Breeze and Kanan move together as a unit through this finale, cleaning up every last person who ever crossed them, and honestly watching these two operate as one is going to feel less like 2 criminals working together and more like a machine that simply doesn't stop. If Stefano, Flossie, Hughie, or Pino think they're safe after abandoning Raq, I don't think any of them make it out of this episode. I believe we're going to watch Breeze and Kanan hunt them down one by one, And there is a real chance that by the end of this finale, these two are the only real power left standing in Queens. Then there's Detective Garcia, and I have to be honest, I don't like where his story is heading at all. Garcia has spent this entire season getting pulled deeper and deeper into the Thomas family's world, and every time a character on this show gets that close to Kanan, it never ends well for them. I think Jukebox turns to him one final time in this finale, maybe even asking him to help her get out, to protect her, to give her some kind of way out of the life she's been drowning in. And I want to believe Garcia gives her that chance. But given how far Kanan has fallen, given that he just executed his own uncle in a church without blinking, I don't think Garcia survives long enough to see it through. I believe Kanan sees him as a loose end, a cop who knows too much, and I think this finale is where that loose end finally gets tied off for good. If that happens, I think it's the final push that sends Jukebox over the edge completely, the moment that finally turns her into the version of herself we already know from the original Power series, someone who no longer hesitates, no longer trusts, and no longer has anyone left to hold her back. And then there's the ending itself, the part of this finale that I think matters more than any single death or betrayal. The teaser for Power Origins has already been released, and Kanan already appeared in it, which tells me Starz is using this finale the exact same way Power Book 4 Force used its own finale to set up Power Book 2 Ghost spinoff into Legacy. I believe this episode is going to end by connecting directly into Origins, and I think that means we finally get to see Ghost and Tommy, but not as the men we know from the original series. Based on the casting details tied to this finale, I believe we're going to see much younger versions of them, kids just beginning to get pulled into the same criminal world that shaped Kanan, and I think Origins is where their stories jump forward in time from there. Nothing about this is confirmed, but given everything this final season has been building toward, including all the hints dropped about Breeze's fate, I wouldn't be surprised if Breeze and Jukebox end up carrying pieces of this story directly into Origins as well. So after 5 seasons of watching a scared kid turn into one of the most feared names in this entire universe, this is where it all ends. A boy who used to hesitate now walks away from murder without blinking. A mother who spent her whole life protecting her son now has nothing left to protect him from except himself. And a family that was built on loyalty is about to be torn apart by the one thing that was supposed to hold it together, love, the kind that was never really unconditional at all. Whatever happens in this finale, I don't think anyone walks away from it whole, and that's exactly what's going to make it impossible to look away from.